Chapter 4.8, Finding the Percent, and Chapter 4.9, 100% of a number. So first of all, we're going to start off with an example here. So I have a table here that shows the school soccer team's record. So here shows that the team won 8 games, lost 4, and tied 3. So I'd like you to try and find the percent to one decimal place of the games that were won, lost, and then the percentage of games that were tied by the team. So take a quick pause here and try these for yourself. Just a hint is you might need to find the total number of games played before you go and make these calculations. Okay, so now that you've had a chance to try this, well, the total number of games played here would be 8 plus 4 plus 3, which then gives you 15 games. So there we have it. 8 plus 4 plus 3 is 15 games. So you're going to need to use that number because that is the total number of games. So to help us find the number of games won, then it will be the number of wins out of that total of 15. So it would be 8 over 15. Of course, we're going to change it to a percentage. We're going to multiply by 100. So therefore we get 53.3%. Similarly, games lost. Well, there was 4 games lost, so 4 out of 15. Multiply that by 100. 26.7% of the games were lost. And finally, in terms of ties, there were 3 games that were tied out of the 15. So multiply that by 100, you get 20% of the games were tied. Now if you were to add up these percentages, well, what should it equal? Well, it should equal exactly 100%, and that would represent 100% of the games that were played, which would be 15 out of 15 games. Okay, so now in this next question, we're going to be looking at cards as an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of a deck of cards. Now, even if you're not a card player, that's okay. Now, in a deck of standard cards, there are 52 of them, and there are 4 suits in the standard deck. So therefore there would be 13 of each suit. So in this table that I've got set up here, it shows the card. We're going to determine how many cards there are of that particular card in the deck. And then it says prediction of times occurrence and the prediction of percent occurrence. So what that suggests is, in terms of the times occurrence, it means if we were to pick it out of a deck of cards with one draw, well, what is the chance of you getting it? So this is getting into what we call theoretical probability, which is something we're going to revisit later on toward the end of the year when we talk about the idea of probability a little bit further. So let me just show the first example just to help you see what I'm talking about here. So here I have an ace of spades. So how many ace of spades would be in a regular deck of cards? Well, of course, there would only be 1 ace of spades. So if I fanned out a deck of cards and asked you to pick any card, one card that is, what's the chance that you would get the ace of spades? Well, since there's only 1 of them in a deck of 52, then your chance of getting it would be 1 out of 52. So the prediction of percent occurrence, then if we were to change 1 out of 52 into a percentage, then all we have to do is go 1 divided by 52, multiply that then by 100 to change it into a percentage. So therefore we would get 1.9%. Simple as that. So at this point, I'm going to open this up. If you can try the same thing for these next 3 questions. So what's the chance of either red twos, all of the threes in the deck, or any spade. So we're going to try and get you to pause the video here and see if you can determine these before checking your answer. Okay, so well, in a deck of cards there are two red twos, so therefore the chance of you getting a red 2 would be 2 out of 52, or 1 in 26. So if we change 1 in 26 into a percentage, then it should be 3.8%, or twice what 1 out of 52 was, right? Now for any 3, there are 4 3s in the deck, so therefore 4 out of 52, or 1 in 13 chance of picking a 3. So therefore we change that into a percent. There's a 7.6% chance that in one draw you're going to pick a 3. For any spade, well, in a deck of cards there are 13 spades, so your chance of picking any spade would be 1/4, or 13 out of 52, which is a quarter of the cards, because there's really 4 suits, so it's 1 out of 4. Therefore, you have a 25% chance of picking any spade. Now, keep in mind that in reality, if I ask you to pick cards like this, one at a time, the chance of you actually getting these values may not be exactly these percentages. The reason being is this gets into something we call experimental probability, but we'll talk a little bit further about that once we get into the probability section later on in the year. Okay, so now to Chapter 4.9, 100% of a number. We're just going to look at a quick example here, and that's about it for this section. So the question is, 8% of a number is 16, then what is that number? So we've got two different methods of helping you solve this question. So in the first method, what we're going to do is think like this. Since 8% of the number is 16, that's based on what it says in the question, then 1% must be 16 divided by 8, because if we take 8%, divide that by 8, we get 1%. So therefore, 16 divided by 8 would therefore be 2. So 100% of the number, then, we take 100, multiply that by 16 over 8, which is 2. Therefore, we get the number being 200. So the number is simply 200. So if we can check our answer, all we have to do is take 200, multiply that by 8%, or 0.08. We would get the number 16. Simple as that. Now, if that method doesn't jive with you, then we can use a method that we had used before in the previous chapter, proportional analysis. So we would set this up as follows. We have 8%, which is 8 out of 100. Well, that would then equal 16 over whatever value that you're trying to find, so we'll call that x. So remember, when we're doing this proportional analysis, to solve for x, we want to use the cross multiply method. So we're going to multiply 8 by x, that's 8x, 16 by 100, like so. So 8x would then be equal to 1600. We then divide both sides by 8. I'll just show that here, like so. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. And therefore, x would be 1600 divided by 8. Should be the same number. X would equal 200. So finally, as an example, I'd like you to try using either of these two methods to help you find the answer to this question. So 25% of a number is 20. What is that number? So take a quick pause and try this question for yourself, then check your answer. Okay, so I've used the same two methods to solve this question. So for the first method, thinking that since 25% of the number is 20, as suggested in the question, then 1% of the number must be 20 divided by 25. So therefore, 100%, we would take this value here, 20 over 25, multiply it by 100. So we get 100 times 20 over 25. That would work out to then 80. So therefore our number is 80. So if you took 25% of 80, or 0.25 times 80, you would get yourself 20. Now using the alternate method, the proportional analysis way, then we would set up a proportion for ourselves. So 25% is 25 out of 100, which therefore should equal 20 divided by your unknown value, x. Cross multiply, so 25 times x would then be equal to 20 times 100, like so. So 25x is equal to then 2,000. We would then divide both sides by 25 to solve for x. And therefore 2,000 divided by 25 would still give you the value 80. So either method gets you the same number. The number is 80. So hopefully with these short examples helps you to understand how to find percentages and the idea of 100% of a number. So I look forward to seeing you in class.